One, two, one, two. Looks like we're live right now. We have a massive audience of, looks like 2 or 3 people. That's great.
You'll
Jeez,
pull
let
them
me.
in.
Yeah, sorry guys, I'm just trying to figure out some technical issues here. Anyway, how's everybody doing today, this morning, this evening, if that's what's happening right now for you? Today we're gonna have a little chat with Melissa, an ex-vegan, and we're basically just going to ask her why it is, how it is she became vegan, why she quit, just basically get her story, and hopefully you guys enjoy that. Anyway, if maybe you want to introduce yourself, tell them about your YouTube channel, and yeah, go on ahead.
Okay. My name is Melissa. I started my YouTube channel actually when I was vegan, because I wanted to like rebound my health somehow, and so I was gonna like share all kinds of tips and tricks on how I got healthy as a vegan. Only problem was I had no energy to do anything, so the channel just hung around for a while, and then I remembered it um after I started researching, how to stop being vegan. And I was like, all right, well, this is the perfect time to transform. Yeah.
Okay,
But
well, so let me ask you, when and why did you become vegan?
it all started 23 years ago. No,
What?
no, when I was 12, like I just got kind of tired of eating meat. And I asked my dad if I could go vegetarian.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I'm not making you beans for the rest of your life. And that was that. So when my son told me that he wanted to go vegetarian in 2015, I was like, all right, sure, let's do it. And I still like offered him meat just in case he wanted it. Um, he sometimes took it, sometimes didn't. Stopped taking it towards the end. But then in 2017, early 2017, he said that he eventually wanted to go vegan. So I was like, all right. I started researching that. And when you're researching veganism, the stuff that pops up is all pro vegan, it's all the
Of course.
propaganda. So, yeah, so you start to think that, hey, maybe veganism isn't so bad. Maybe all those people that have problems are just not doing it right, you know? And so in July 16th, 2017, we went vegan, and it was
So
awesome.
wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you,
Oh,
but let me get this
yeah.
straight. Were you actually vegetarian for 2 decades, or because your father
Oh
didn't
God,
allow?
no.
Okay, okay.
No, no, no. No, that was just like that was my like, okay, well, if I ever have kids, I'm gonna support them type deal. And
Gotcha. You had a
yeah.
need to maybe change your diet at a very young age.
Hmm.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, you're
Oh,
cutting out.
oh, and you better?
Yeah.
Anyway, so what were the reasons for you going vegan? And you could talk about ethics or health, whatever it was.
Yeah, so we were vegetarian first because I wanted to support him as well in that. Like we were only vegetarian for a couple months with him, and it was actually three reasons were equal why I went vegan. Because the ethics, obviously, like you don't want to hurt the animals. Factory farming is all bad.
Hmm.
And then second was health because like everybody was saying that they were cured on this magical miracle diet, and I have a few autoimmune conditions like you can, yeah. So I was like, all right, sweet, like if I can support the animals and heal myself, then all so good. But yeah, and then the third was just because like I wanted to support my kids. And so yeah, everything was great at first. Like before we were vegetarian, we were eating the standard American diet, all the sausages and deli meats and pizza, burgers, all that good stuff. And
It's
so
good.
obviously, yeah, that's the bad thing is the chemicals make it good.
Hmm.
um, but yeah, once we cut all that out and like all the dairy, all the processed dairy and everything, when we went vegan, like we all started to feel great. He has eczema, so that started to calm down quite a bit.
Hmm.
My flares kind of went away, like my pain was greatly reduced. And so we bought into the whole vegan thing. Like I started my vegan Instagram channel, which is gone now, just like completely shut that down. But like we were all on board with supporting. I even started a vegan YouTube channel, but I deleted that as well once I decided that we're not going vegan or we're not going to stay vegan.
Right.
I still have some of those videos though. I don't know. Um, but yeah, it was.
Well, okay, before I ask you about the specifics of your vegan diet, because I'm curious about that as well,
Mhm.
you said that everybody was healing on the vegan diet. When you say that, do you mean people online? And if so, can you single out some of the your big, or was it people in your personal life that you saw having these improvements?
Oh, sorry, hold on.
No, no, no problem.
Get us back. Ask Joey to help. Mom life. Um, no, it was actually like all the blogs that I was reading. Like these people said that they had rosacea and psoriasis and gut problems, and they were healing those with a plant-based diet. And I don't remember any one person in particular. Just because like I like to bounce around, I don't like to like follow one person and follow their experience. So it wasn't actually one particular person, but I kind of like focus on us and our healing and like
Hmm.
how we felt and like people's stories. I'm not a big fan of like studies per se.
Yeah,
I like experience. So when
of
people were
course.
saying that they were experiencing like all this healing to their autoimmune conditions, that's honestly what sold me. And it worked at first, but then of course it didn't.
Can you list some of the improvements, whether it was you or your kids, that you experienced while
Oh,
eating vegan?
yeah, my middle son, he's 11 now.
Hmm.
He's had eczema his whole life, and that started to like calm down a lot. Like it was so bad that I would get calls from the school nurse because they didn't know it was eczema, and they're like, he's having some sort of reaction, and I'd have to go grab his lotion, go down to the school, and help him put it on. Um, but once I think it was once we cut out the processed dairy is
I
what
see.
did it because like yeah it started to calm down. He wasn't itching as much. He was actually like because he would wake himself up itching sometimes,
Hmm.
and that kind of just like it stopped for a few months, and it actually started to come back probably about 2 or 3 months before we gave up veganism. Like he was waking himself up itching again and just like flaring, and so that got better, and
Why
then it
it
got
might have
worse
come
for him.
back?
Huh?
Do you have any idea why it
Oh,
might have come back?
I honestly think it's because we started eating grains. Like, since I
Okay,
had no
yeah.
energy, I'm a single mom, and I like to do things the easy way sometimes. And so I started focusing more on like buying like easier foods and eating more pastas and eating more of those
Calorie
gardines
rich
and
stuff,
but
yeah.
yeah, that nasty calorie rich stuff. I started buying more of that because it was easy towards the end and I had no energy whatsoever. So we were eating a lot more grains.
Uh-huh.
And I think that's what made him flare. I think that's what made me worse as well. And just, yeah, because, grains are bad.
Well, I
Or
guess so.
nowadays, grains are bad. Not,
Yeah.
yeah, well, depending on where you get them, I guess. Yeah.
So right off the bat, when you became vegan and the duration or the majority of what did you guys eat? What did your diet look like? And was it very strict or tell us?
Not really. Like, it was a lot of vegetables. We bought into the whole Gardein thing at first too because it was an easy meat replacement, but we had a lot more vegetables, a lot more
Cooked or raw
potatoes.
or both?
The Gardein?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Your
oh,
diet,
the
was it
vegetables.
raw or cooked or both?
No, it was mostly cooked.
Hmm.
And then like the salads would always be raw, and then I'd throw like a ton of veggies in with those, just a mix of like cucumber, peppers on raw lettuce. We stayed away from kale. We tried that once. We did not like that.
What
Um,
happened?
Oh, it
If
was
it's
just
too personal,
nasty.
that's
No,
fine.
no, no. It was just so bitter. Like we each took a bite
I
of it and it was just like so bitter. We spit it out. And I mean,
doesn't taste
plants
like food.
being, yeah, exactly. Like plants have that bitterness to protect them and everybody's like raving about kale, so we finally tried it and not for us.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't do kale. It goes in, it comes out the same way it goes in, and it's always been
yeah.
this way.
Oh, no matter how much you chew it, right? It just
It was
reforms in the gut
cooked.
or something.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
yeah.
cooked. It was chewed very well, and if I eat enough of it, if I just eat a little bit, that's fine. But if I eat
Yeah.
more than a couple leaves, it's like I don't use it at all. My body just says, "No, no, thanks. Get this
Yeah,
stuff out of here."
right? There's
So,
no
would you describe your diet as whole foods, plant-based? And if there were any plants that you eliminated, because it kind of sounds like maybe you gave up grains too, could you list those as well?
I'm not gonna lie. We weren't the try everything vegan family. We didn't go like raw plant-based vegan. So I know people are gonna say that, oh, we just didn't do it right. Nah, we tried what we could for us.
Right.
And like, yeah, so we tried cooking the foods, we tried eating them raw with like homemade dressings and slaws. Um, that's about it. I mean, like, what other way can you do cooked and raw? But
Right, right.
yeah, we tried like cutting out the Gardein and all that fake meat for a while and just eating like whole foods, cooked plant-based foods. And we didn't really feel a difference. It was just like, I don't know, after a while, it just nothing felt good anymore. And it just all felt the same. It just all felt like we were just
Did
eating.
you take the grains out, or were you still eating pastas and breads and rice?
We reduced the grains to like
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 times a week.
I see.
Um, But yeah, they weren't like the staple of our meal anymore. It was mostly like potatoes. We had a lot of potatoes, a
Yeah.
lot of ways. Yeah. So that's a
So,
nightshade right there.
and did you supplement at all?
Oh yeah. Uh,
Can you
the
list some of the
kids,
supplements?
yeah, the kids had the B12 spray like every other day.
Mm-hmm.
They had the cherry spray. I had a sublingual lemon because I just preferred that one. Um, that was it's still in the fridge. I think it was 2,500 micrograms for that one. That's usually the supplement amount that we bought. Um, for the kids, oh geez. I think that's the only one that I actually like pushed the entire way through. But
B12,
then
but go ahead.
yeah. Um, yeah, that's the only one we
Fortified
take.
foods,
We did eat the fortified foods, the Gardein and everything, and of course, like all white flour here is all like enhanced and enriched.
of course. Yeah.
So we had that. And then I bought them multivitamins and like green powders, but they refused to take those. Um, and then I have an entire box of supplements because I bought into the whole supplement phase and like trying to heal my autoimmune conditions with those. So it's like I was taking horsetail, marshmallow root, um, MSM, which I'm probably still going to keep around, but then all the omegas like flaxseed oil, evening primrose oil, like I can't even list all I have in that box right now, but it was a lot. Like the only one I really pushed for them was B12, but then of course I could feel my symptoms more, so I would like supplement more.
Hmm. So, how long were you on the diet before you started noticing, after all the positive changes, you started noticing the negative onset of negative symptoms?
Probably about 10 months,
Okay.
honestly. Like when I made this YouTube channel, it was I just started to feel like more tired and I have chronic fatigue syndrome diagnosed as well, so I just figured that was just getting worse. Um,
But it got worse
oh,
than when you were eating an omnivorous diet.
yeah.
Okay.
It did because like I didn't have like whole proteins to supplement me and boost me up, but it was actually April. I had my blood work done. Um, and I was convinced like okay, backing up a little bit. When you're when you have like gut issues, you need the animal proteins to keep your brain healthy. And I was starting to get like really paranoid. So in April when I had my blood work done, I was convinced they stuck me with a bad needle, because that's when I started to just go downhill. Like I was getting more tired, I was getting like paranoid, my social anxiety was almost out of control, and I was starting to get really depressed. And I don't get depressed in the springtime. It's just, yeah. Um, so I
Did the
think that's when
results
I started to go
reveal,
down.
sorry, did the results
Oh,
reveal anything negative?
I was
Or,
anemic.
okay, okay, that
And I had
explains
high
it all.
cholesterol.
How was your
Yeah.
B12?
I didn't have that tested. It was a basic blood test. Like
I
they
see, I
checked,
see.
yeah, the fasting blood glucose and all that good stuff.
So you got paranoid.
Yeah, it was bad. And like ever since then, like after that, it was just like paranoia and hallucinations and like just like this bad brain degenerative stuff. It was crazy. And I never once thought that vegetables could be the culprit.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, because everybody talks about how great the vegan diet is and how healing it is and just like all this good stuff. And so,
Well, I mean, there's plenty of evidence that it can be healing
oh,
short term,
yeah,
but it's not very much, it doesn't appear to be very nourishing. Now, as
yeah.
far as, since you say you were anemic, were you
Mhm.
supplementing iron or just making sure that you eat iron rich foods or anything like that? Or
I added in more spinach, which in my
after
case
you
was,
found out? Or,
yeah, after I
okay.
found out. I tried to add in some more like greens and red vegetables,
Hmm.
and it didn't really do anything. Like I've never been able to absorb iron supplements, so I just tried the food route, and there's something about the oxalates in those foods that like
They bind up the iron.
exactly. So I wasn't even getting the iron, and I still felt anemic. I still felt tired, and just never got better.
Maybe you're just a carnivore.
I think you might be right.
So, and as far as your kids, and we don't have to talk about that if you don't want to, but did they have any negative symptoms or?
Oh, they got cranky. Like we were
Mhm.
all cranky, but they were like just like fighting with each other. My youngest was really lethargic, not like sickly lethargic, but he would just lie around all day, just like watching TV, and
And that
I didn't
wasn't
have to.
usual for him.
No, he's 4 now, and kids, he's God. Ever since we've added in animal products, he's been nonstop. And before we went vegan, he was also nonstop. But like during that time, he just became like a lump. And then
Hmm.
his teeth started thinning. Um, they're actually getting thicker now, which is, like praising everything right there. But yeah, so he actually started to get sick as well towards the end. Like he was throwing up at random. Like I had no idea what that was. Um, I saw one of Sverage's ex-vegan interviews as well, and the mom was saying that her kid would wake up in the middle of the night throwing up, and I was just like, it was just a
Yeah,
revelation.
maybe the body's just was telling him, I don't want this. Give me something else. I don't know.
Yeah, kids, they need the protein. They need like extra calories. They need all that good stuff to grow, and I wasn't giving that to him.
Were you eating plant sources of protein, like, the stereotypical, the cliche-ish, beans and grains and
Oh
quinoa, stuff like
yeah.
that? Okay.
Chickpeas were like a staple. Chickpeas and black beans were a staple in our house. Like I didn't like quinoa, so I served couscous a lot. But yeah, we we bought into the whole plants are protein thing. So of course we just figured we were getting our protein, and adding in extra beans and hummus and all that good stuff was all we needed.
So when people say you didn't do it right, you take an issue with that because you were. It sounds like you were not only supplementing, but also when problems arose, you try to solve them by adjusting the diet a little bit. It would just
Yeah,
be correct to say.
pretty much, because like I think it's inherent that we all believe that we can get everything we need from food. And when people say that you're just not doing it right, like according to who? You? Just because they're doing it a certain way doesn't mean that way works for everybody else. And so it's like I I I cringe so much whenever somebody says, "Oh, well, you just didn't do it right," because like what's the right way to do it? I think the only right way to do it for a vegan to be happy is to let it kill you. I'm convinced of that, because it's like you can't do it short term. You can't do it just to heal yourself. You have to like you have to keep being vegan no matter what. And that's the only way to do it right. And so yeah, I take serious issue when people say, "Oh, you just didn't do it right."
Well, seeing as I call it the death diet all the time, I'm
Yeah.
not going to push back against that idea. But so when did you decide to start adding other foods to your diet, and because it seems like it was really recent.
Yes, it was actually end of September. Um, like the last couple weeks in September, I had convinced myself that I was dying. Like I had cancer and I was literally just gonna let myself die. And something clicked in my head that I wasn't okay with that because like it's kind of hard to remember now because the brain was in another place when I was vegan. Um, but I had just like my brain wouldn't work. It wouldn't function for anything. And then one day I just woke up and I was like, wait a minute, maybe it's the vegan diet. And then of course I searched no longer vegan and all these articles or blog posts popped up that said like, oh, it just didn't work for me and I tried it, but I couldn't sustain it and all this stuff. And then I found Sparage's videos and it
Hmm.
was like his ex-vegan interviews and it was just like I binged watched those, like all of the ones he had at the time. And I was like, holy crap, everything that they were saying was like everything we were going through. And then I came across a Kasumi Chris video, and like all of her 4 years of veganism was like compressed into my one. And it was just like, that's it. No animal's life is worth my child. And I went and bought eggs and had to wait to cook them because like I got home and I was just like, no energy whatsoever. But like when we ate eggs that night and some buttery mashed potatoes and it was just like we were like alive again. And it was then that I decided that we weren't vegan anymore. Just like watching
Hmm.
the transformation in my kids, it was just like, nah, this isn't for us anymore.
Were the kids happy with that decision?
um, my youngest didn't care.
Because he never
my
waits. A lot of your kids
yeah,
never wanted to go vegan, right?
yeah, like kids, they know, dude. We gotta watch our kids because they'll lead us most of the time into the good stuff. But yeah, and then my 11-year-old, he was really hesitant at first because like we still care about the animals. It's just now we source our meats better. Yeah, he was kind of reluctant at first, and then after a couple days, he's like, "All right, well, okay, I'm starting to feel better. So yeah, let's keep doing this." And my oldest was like, "Finally!" She's like, "Dude, I think she was the happiest of all because she got to see us like decline and just because she
Told you.
never went vegan." Yeah, no.
Oh, okay. So she just kept eating whatever.
Yeah, and like at home, she would eat vegan with us, obviously, but
Yeah.
like when she was out with her friends, it was all about like eating at their place and going out to fast food restaurants and
She was
yeah.
probably out a lot.
Yeah, she was actually. It was bad. Like I didn't even care because it's like I was like, all right, whatever, just do what you want. And just like, yeah. So, oh, I remember this one time she went to a graduation barbecue for her friend, and she brought home a plate full of barbecued meat, and I was like livid. This is what the vegan diet does to you. Like after a while, you just like you start to wonder why people aren't getting it. And when
Did
she
you
brought
get
home that
preachy?
I did actually, yes. And I was like, I don't understand why you would bring that into the house. We're trying to save the animals. And P.S., we never saved one animal. So yeah,
Hmm.
I just like went off on her and we didn't speak for like 3 days. And yeah, every time I would open the fridge and see the meat because she refused to throw it away, which, she's good on her convictions, I'll tell you that. But yeah, every time I would open the fridge and see the meat, like I just wanted to like throw it away, but in the back of my head I was like, I just want to bite that. But yeah, it was yeah. I don't know, where were we going with that?
Oh, I was just talking about the. I was curious about the vegan mindset, because it
Oh
seems
yeah,
like
yeah.
as soon as people become vegan, they want to convince everybody to join them as if maybe they needed a friend in misery. But did you
Yeah.
know any vegans in real life or try to convince friends or family members to become vegan? I know, I think it was your brother you were saying. He was very much against that idea, but were there other people who were supportive and or doing the same thing as you, or you were trying to get them to do that?
Oh, I was trying to get my youngest dad, like I was trying to get him to go vegan because he was having health problems, and I was like, "Oh, the vegan diet will heal you." And
Uh-huh.
my mom, she went vegan for like 2 weeks, and that's all she could take. But they were supportive. Those were the only two people that I tried to convert. Everybody else was just like, "Oh yeah, we're so great as vegans." I tried to like exude the vegan confidence and vegan health to everybody else, and nobody bought. So, but I didn't know any vegans in real life. It was all on my Instagram page. Um, I talked with a couple other moms on there, and like our focus, the only thing we seemed to talk about was food. We became obsessed with food. And that was our body telling us that we were starving and we needed nourishment or something. But like, if that was like the only way that I could connect with other vegans was through food. And yeah, I wasn't really big on the abolitionist movement, so I couldn't
Hmm.
connect with like all the vegan community. But I was judgy and preachy to.
Would you say it became your identity, or at least a
Oh
significant part
yeah,
of? Yeah.
totally became my identity. I was like, um,
You didn't get those vegan t-shirts, did you?
no, I couldn't afford those vegan t-shirts. No, I did actually buy. There's a book sitting on my coffee table right now. There was a vegan book, How to Change the World Through Kids or something, and
Oh man.
but yeah, like all the other vegan stuff, I wanted to support it, but I couldn't because it was so expensive, and yeah, you know, uh, thoughts on that one. But yeah, like
So I saw your Costco haul the other
mhm.
day, and it looked very much meat heavy. I don't know if that's just because that's where you buy your meat, but maybe you could talk about what it is that you eat these days.
These days, I am actually leaning. I know I started an AIP diet to help heal my autoimmune conditions,
What is
but
that? Because I don't think everybody
oh,
knows probably.
yeah, sorry. It's the autoimmune paleo protocol. It's basically like a subset of the paleo diet. It's no nightshades, no beans, no nuts, no seeds, no grains, no gluten, no dairy. I'm sure there's other ones, no alcohol, no caffeine.
What
um,
can you eat?
it focuses, this is where it differs from the vegan diet, because you know how the vegan diet cuts out everything. Well, on the AIP diet, they focus on adding in more nutrient dense meats like organ meats and fish and like
Uh-huh.
omega heavy meats. And so I've actually been leaning a lot more towards meat. Every vegetable seems to flare me. Yes. Yes. Okay. So I've been actually leaning more towards meats, and I had beef shank for the first time. Oh my God, have you ever had beef shank? Or I know you don't like beef, but like lamb
No,
shank?
no, no. I
Oh,
like beef.
oh okay, sorry. I didn't know if you preferred like
I
other
just
ones,
it's
but
not my favorite, but no, I
yeah.
like beef. Yes, I've had beef shank. I've had just about every part of the cow.
It's fucking perfect, right? It's got your marrow, your muscle meat, your fat, and your cartilage on it. It was like, so I've been eating a lot of beef shank lately and blueberries. Blueberries are like the only plant that I seem to tolerate now.
Hmm.
But yeah, yeah, it's just a focus on like nutrient dense foods. And I find that I am leaning more towards carnivore on
Uh-huh.
this thing. And that's like all I crave now is meat and sardines.
So you don't eat hardly any plants?
No, because like every plant that I've tried so far, except for cabbage and iceberg lettuce is like crunchy water. Um,
Hmm.
Everything else seems to like flare me, and I get bladder pain and the
Wow.
frequency, and yeah, it's not fun. So I just tend to stay away from those just for my own sanity right now.
Hmm. Do you dabble in organ meats, or is it still a little too early, but you're thinking
I
about it?
love liver. It's so freaking bomb.
Really?
Like,
Cooked liver?
yeah, cooked liver. I'm not gonna eat it raw because there's nowhere to get grass-fed awful
Gotcha.
around here,
Gotcha.
unfortunately. But yeah, like cooked liver. Like I had food poisoning this past weekend, and like the only thing that my brain was thinking about when I was sick was raw beef liver. And
Uh-huh.
I kind of want to try it, even though it's conventional. I don't know because I get it from our local butcher, so it's not like it's like coming from hours away. Um, but yeah, like I grew up actually eating the liver and the gizzards and the heart. My dad would
Mhm.
always set those aside for me. So it's like I'm not averse to organ meats. I actually prefer them now. But yeah, like grass-fed raw would be I want to try that. Like watching you eat Eeyore. It looks delicious.
I wouldn't call it delicious, but I'll say that goat's liver
Mm,
or sheep's liver, lamb liver is much, 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 much better. I did make some pate with Eeyore, and that's palatable, but it's really, really powerful. You know,
yeah.
if you let's say take chicken liver and you multiply that flavor by like 100 times, it's really potent, and it literally changed my mood within a half hour. You know, I want to say
Yeah.
it got me high, even though it really wasn't that sort of feeling. So, what about your kids? Are they eating more normally now? Are they leaning carnivore, or what's
Oh
going
no.
on there?
They're just eating whatever I make them now. They're
I
just
see.
happy that they have meat again. Like
They're back
especially my
to
oldest.
they're back to like what you guys used to eat, except maybe for some of the things that you know cause problems.
Yeah, we eat a lot less veggies now.
Uh-huh.
Like, yeah, well, they like broccoli, and that's about it right now. So I don't even force it. If they say they want a veggie, I'll make them a veggie. But green beans also. Green beans and broccoli are like the only things that they'll eat now.
Dairy,
Raw dairy.
raw dairy, I see.
Yeah, we're lucky enough to have a raw dairy about an hour away from us,
Hmm.
and I go there and get the milk for them. And um,
Those people never slaughter any of their cattle?
they do, and I picked up some of their ground beef, and
Uh-huh.
it was so good, but it like flared me, and it was $8 a pound, so I didn't want to like I don't know,
Oh,
I kind of
wow.
have to budget, so
That's
yeah,
expensive, yeah.
exactly. So, but we tried it, and it flared me. Um, we'll stick with like yeah, the conventional for now.
So, ever since you started eating animal products again, um, obviously you've been feeling much better. But if you could talk about that a little bit more detail.
Um, whenever people say that they add in animal products after not having them for so long, they get like this huge epiphany that, this is life. And so when I added in some meat the day after we ate eggs, I expected that epiphany as well.
Hmm.
And I didn't get it. But then 10 minutes later, it was just like I felt awake and like I had rejoined the world of the living again. And everything was just like so bright and colorful and just like I felt like I could think and hear myself think. And it was just it I don't know, it's hard to explain. You've never been vegan, right? Like
No, I was what you would, I guess, call plant-based for a long
mm,
time. I've noticed some of these changes too, but that's I associate most of that with being in ketosis, which is something that I wanted to ask you about. How's the brain fog, by the way?
brain fog, well, since I've suffered with that like more than half my life, it's still there, but it's like not nearly as bad as on grain brain.
Uh-huh.
um yeah,
So is AIP, it's not a ketogenic diet, but it can be? Like, what's the deal with that?
it can be. There are people who do AIP keto.
Hmm.
Like right now, I think of myself more as AIP carnivore, but there are people that can do it on keto. I'm following one of them, like communicating with him a little bit. Um, it's actually really interesting. Like you just add in the avocados and eat fatty meats, and it's basically like a keto diet, but a bit more restricted for your flares and your conditions. But
Gotcha.
yeah, it's possible.
So you're not eating a ton of fat right now.
When I get it, like, um, I tried making tallow because the butcher here, I bought some suet from him, and I tried making tallow, and it was just like it coated my throat, and I didn't like it. I'm trying to find somewhere where I can get some lard, like because I prefer to make it myself. So I want to get the pig fat and like make the lard myself. But
Get the leaf lard and render it.
yeah,
Totally.
be
Now,
totally good. But I am getting some fat. Just I want
you
more.
can you do dairy or you can't? Not
I'm
really.
not supposed to,
Hmm.
but I'm probably going to add it in a lot sooner because the raw milk actually it never bothered me, and
Uh-huh.
it boosted my energy, and
Gotcha.
yeah, it was like a natural caffeine for me. So,
Because
um,
butter is a good, if you can get grass fed, especially, is a
oh
good source
yeah.
of fat. And then if you, I guess the term is render it a little bit. You could
Mhm.
turn it into ghee where you take out the milk proteins for the most part, and a lot of people seem to be able to deal with that a lot better than just plain butter. And
I
it's a good
really like
good fat source. Yeah.
yeah, like ghee was I used to make that all the time before going vegan. I love it, and
All right then, I'm
I'm
preaching to the choir.
yeah, there you go. But no, it's still good because like when you said butter, I'm craving butter. Whenever I make the kids eggs or anything, I always use butter to cook them. And I find myself just like wanting to eat it still. And I'm like, oh wait, no, I gotta give AIP at least a couple weeks just to, be good. But then it's like I also don't want to restrict myself like on the vegan diet where it's like, no, you can't do that.
Hmm.
So I'm pretty much convinced that I'm going to add in some dairy and some butter next week on week 2
I mean, it
because
sounds like all of this is so recent to you. You're still really trying to figure things out, and maybe shouldn't rush too much into
exactly.
things. Gotcha, gotcha. But yeah, the one thing that I wanted to say, and it doesn't mean that it would work for you, but
Mhm.
when I first went into ketosis, I didn't even know what the ketogenic diet was. I just happened to be eating a lot of butter and lard and just a lot of fat with my meats because, Frank Tufano says you have to. So I did. And I didn't even know that I had brain fog most of my life until I actually went into ketosis. And a lot of people seem to report the same, that they become, much clearer than before.
Mhm.
And it seems like people who do carnivore, keto, seems like even those people experience improvements, a lot of them anyway, from just being keto where you're still eating plant oils. Like, I'll tell you this much:
Yeah.
peanut butter, which is considered a good fat, gives, I never knew this, but when I introduced peanut butter into my primarily carnivorous diet, I
Mhm.
got tremendous brain fog. Like,
Oh.
so I'm done with peanuts. I know that much. So I just wanted to throw that in. But yeah, I think
All
that's
those pathways.
basically all I wanted to talk to you about, ask you. But if you have you know, some other stuff you wanna contribute, that would be great. And I was also thinking maybe we could do like a follow up in a month or two, see how you're doing and all that other good stuff.
Yeah. Um, when you were saying like the carnivore diet heals and it healed your brain fog, I thought of Amber O'Hearn, sorry, and
Hmm.
Michaela Peterson and how they healed all of their conditions and they're thinking so clearly and their mental capacities like it still amazes me just coming from a place of like inflammation and illness
Yeah.
to just like they're so serene and yeah, so I'm thinking like I'm looking to add in more fatty meats. Uh, Probably go with a keto edge at least for now
Hmm.
because yeah, until I want to go full carnivore just to see. I like to use my body as like a freaking experiment or something. I just
Right.
do things, yeah, just for the experience. But yeah, try to add in more fats and meats and yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, as far as Amber O'Hearn and Michaela Peterson, and maybe you fit in that category a little bit, those are people with really severe autoimmune issues. I don't think I ever had anything and if I did, I didn't really notice. Like, I mean, there's, there's a little bit of itching if I eat a lot of sugar or grains, then I'll itch for no reason, which, so maybe that is, if I do have autoimmune issues, they're definitely not as severe. So I'm not like anti-plants completely,
Mhm.
and I'm trying stuff out, you know what I mean? But that might not be a good option for everybody. So I think it's good that you're experimenting, and you
Yeah.
doing this elimination diet essentially. And then yeah, don't take anything I say as any sort of advice, because I don't know shit, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But
You're
huh?
you're fine.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and that's all I'm saying, really. You know
Oh
what I mean?
yeah.
Find out what works for you. And if, hey, if that's veganism, even though that doesn't seem to be the case with most people, good luck. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Like I've had a couple people, of course, with the whole, oh, well, it works for me. And I'm like, good, keep doing it. Just watch out for the signs of malnutrition just in case it doesn't work anymore. But yeah, like if it's working for you, man, go for it. Do it.
Yeah, it's really interesting how some people, it'll take them literally 10 years, and maybe there's some
Hmm.
denial there, and maybe they're ignoring some symptoms. Some people, it'll be like that uh, stereotypical 4 or 5 year period where
Yeah.
supposedly all the nutrients that are stored up in your body are depleted. And
Mhm.
then for some people like yourself, it just comes on, so the negative symptoms come on so quickly that you really just end up ditching the diet.
Yeah. I think it's just like some people are just way more messed up than others.
Yeah, totally, totally. Who knows what, besides obviously Goji Men, what's really going on, you know what I mean? So
Mhm.
whatever, we all do what we can, and that's that.
Yeah. That's, you know what though? Like it just we're so worried about what everybody else is putting in their mouth instead of worrying about like what we're being given to put into our mouths. That's where the fight needs to go because like it's clear that you support people doing what feels good for them. The majority of people do, and it's just like they need to just focus more on where the stuff is coming from instead of like what we're doing with it.
Totally. And I think a lot of the times, those of us who focus on nutrition and diet, we oftentimes forget that there are other factors that
Yeah.
contribute to our health and, happiness, like good family life, exercise, living in a relatively, clean area that's not too polluted, or at the very least, getting out of, if you live in a polluted area, getting out once in a while and, going to forest preserve or what have you, going hiking, stuff like that. So it's not everything, definitely, but I would say it's the number one thing that we're doing wrong these days.
Yeah.
Most of us, anyway.
It's an
Well,
entire
great.
lifestyle.
Yeah, unless you have anything else you'd like to add and maybe promote your channel, I would like to thank you for coming on. I think it's very important that ex-vegans especially come on and share their experience. I've been watching like Sveria, like you mentioned him and his channel, doing these ex-vegan interviews, and just like you, I find them very fascinating. And even though it's kind of like the same story over and over, I'm captivated by every single one. And I think it's very important for vegans, ex-vegans, not to hide, run away and pretend like nothing ever happened, but to come clean, basically, and
Yeah.
share their experience, and hopefully, uh, give give people who are thinking about doing veganism. And I'm not saying people shouldn't try it, but give them something to think about. And that's really it. So once again, thank you
Yeah.
for coming on. And if you want to shout out your channel or any other social media, you definitely should.
Oh, yeah. If anybody wants, like, I actually posted the full vegan symptoms and experiences on my channel. So if you wanted to check those out, because it's more than a little, um, yeah, 30-minute blurb. So,
The link is in the
check.
description, by the way, for
Thank
those of you
you.
interested. Yeah.
And it's been such a pleasure and an honor. And yeah, thanks for doing this with me.
No, thank you for coming on. And I would like to definitely catch up and see how you're progressing, what you're doing, maybe give it a month or two. And yeah, stay in touch.
Awesome. You too. Thank you.
Cool. Take it easy. All right, everyone. Thank you all for coming through. I would like to be able to do these interviews with ex-vegans as much as possible. So if there are any of you out there, ex-vegans, future ex-vegans, listening, watching, and you want to share your experience, I don't have a huge platform, but hey, help me grow it. Anyway, thanks everybody for coming through, participating, and I'll catch you on the next one.